My name is Ralph White, and I'm an alcoholic. And thank you for that reading, Nick. And he doesn't like it, but I'm going to do it anyway. In fact, he expressly forbids it, which of course means I'm going to do it anyway. Robert, thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the idea. Thank you for the impetus. You know, in the reading Nick just read, he talked about it may seem incredible these men are to become happy, respected, and useful. He talked about you will find lifelong friends. And I don't know if this is your first visit here to Stateline. Thank you, Lee. I didn't adjust the mic because Lee likes to have stuff to do. And if this is your first trip to Stateline, probably won't be your last. I get jealous. I get a lot of stuff still. I get jealous, I get envious, I get resentful. I still get a whole bunch of stuff. But I come out here and I see this party that we have out here, and I get really envious because I'm like, damn, Bob knows how to throw a party. And there are a lot of other events like this that have this format. In fact, shameless plug, I host one in Los Angeles in May. And the cold part about when you're trying to do that, you match it up against the granddaddy. And it just, there's nothing like this deal this weekend. The camaraderie, the people, the fellowship, and more than that, what you'll leave with. And my recovery always goes to a whole nother level whenever I leave Stateline. I've never had an opportunity to tell my story of one of these. And that's interesting. Let me pull this out. And as my friend, I got to do homage to Howard P., who's not with us. As my friend used to say, I'm not going to look at it, but I want to get a newcomer hope, So let me pull this watch. It's not a watch, but my phone out. Just to give him hope. And while I'm on that subject, I fill all the boxes to be a member in good standing in Alcoholics Anonymous. And one of the boxes I check is I am sponsored. I have a sponsor and I am sponsored. Two different things. And my sponsor right now sends his greetings. And he wanted me to make sure to pass that along to all his friends. And my sponsor is in recovery right now, and I am, many of you know him. And it's interesting. That my sponsor had heart surgery. And he's got the biggest heart of any man I know. And there are a lot of men in this room who I respect the same way. So my thoughts go with him. But you didn't bring me up here to be somber, and you didn't bring me up here to be glum, and you didn't bring me up here to be a downer. So let's get into this thing. When I got here, it's kind of difficult because I start thinking egotistically. Sometime I'll hear a speaker get up and he'll say, everybody know, I know all of you have heard my story. And I'll be like, I ain't heard it, A, and B, I don't remember it anyway. So why are you thinking. So let's just get into it because I ain't willing to go get another one. But to be honest, that's why I've been standing around here stumbling and fumbling, because I'm like, it's so many people in here that I respect and I love and I'm in front of, and I'm like, I've never told my story at one of these deals. I'm used to doing one of these, one of the steps and being focused and not being all over the place. But I'm all over the place. And I grew up in South Central Los Angeles, and a lot of you know my brother. There are 6 of us. I have 5 brothers, and we grew up in Watts. And when I was growing up in the 60s, I'm 66 years old right now. And growing up in the 60s, was a fun time and a good time for me. I've told my story a lot of times, and I'm at an age now when sometimes I ask myself, is it really your story, or is it what you remember or you think was your story? Is it really your story, or have you told it enough and have you packaged it well enough to get it inside of an hour that this is really the way you grew up? So I've been driving my mom around, and I've had an opportunity to do some walking down memory lane. Now, my mom's 89, so she don't have the most reliable memory either. So you got her and you got me, and you got these big gaps in what I remember and what she remembers. But so let me stick with the facts as I know them to be. And the facts as I know them is I got 5 brothers. The facts as I know them is we grew up in a little 2-bedroom apartment in Watts, in the 60s. The facts as I know them is my mom was a welfare mother. My old man was put out of the house. I believe that my old man drank Ripple all the time, but I'm sure he probably had another beverage that he drank too. But when we went up under the bed and we swept under the bed on Saturdays, what came out from under the bed was Ripple bottles. And so I believe my old man was a Ripple drinker and he was a wino. He got put out the house. I'm not sure, but I thought I was about 8 or 9 years old. I do that my mom raised me and my brothers by herself for most of my life, and I got a remarkable mom. I remember going off to school. I've always been a kid. I've never been one. If you go to enough meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, there are lots of common themes. Some of those themes hit me, some of them don't. One of the reasons we tell our story in Alcoholics Anonymous, contrary to what people say, you'll hear somebody get up to the podium, and a lot of times they'll say, I'm not going to share a lone drunk along. Everybody knows my story is just like your story. Our stories are so varied, and the reason our stories are so varied is because we suffer from a disease that does not discriminate. If our stories were all the same, that would mean the disease only strikes people who look a certain profile. This disease goes across every spectrum. So our stories are all over the place. So sometimes I'll hear people say that, I drink just like everybody. I hear most of our members, when they get up to the podium, they'll say, I never felt like I fit in, and that's not a part of my story. Most of our members will say, if you hear my brother Ron when he talks about his story, now Ronnie shares a lot just like me. Ronnie's a year younger than me in life, 3 months older than me in recovery, and he goes out and talks a lot too. When Ronnie tells his story, he's always saying he wanted to be somewhere else, doing something else, somebody else. I, on the other hand, came out of the same environment, same house, slept in the same bed, came out with a totally different perspective. I never wanted to be anybody else, someplace else, doing something else. I couldn't imagine being anybody other than a young brother growing up in Watts in the 60s. It was a changing time, and it was a turbulent time, and I was right in it. I was going to make a name for myself. I was going to be an asset to my community, and I was going to be somebody. I was going to make my family proud. I was not going to be my daddy, and I was not going to be the ones that my kids looked at the way that I looked at my dad. I never wanted him to come to the father-son banquets. He didn't. He was absent. I had an uncle, or later on I had a stepdad, but I used to have my big brother show up at the father-son banquet, and I never wanted my old man to show up because I was ashamed of him. My old man here's where I have to rewrite history. I used to tell this story a long time. I used to say my old man had a 3rd grade or a 6th grade education. I reconnected with my old man 2 years ago as a result of this program. Called him up out of the blue. Something that disturbed me in a conversation I was in with a friend of mine. And I called my old man up on New Year's Eve 2 years ago. And I thought, because I was in a discussion with a friend of mine, and I was saying, and when I think when I get the news about my dad dying, I'm going to feel something like, maybe a friend of mine that I kind of knew had died. I'm not going to trip. I'm not going to be distraught. My friend says, sounds like you got a resentment. I said, how do you think that sounds like a resentment? I've written on my old man and the rest of that. I'm clear I don't have a resentment. I'm numb to him. But as a result of what you guys have been doing to me, that statement disturbed my spirit. And without me knowing, it went inside me. And it marinated for about a month. And on New Year's Eve, a couple of years ago, I said, let me call this man out the blue. And I called him. And I was right. I didn't have a resentment. But I was unprepared for what I did have. So my old man answers the phone, and I said, I bet you don't know who this is. He said, no, I don't know who this is. I said, it's your namesake, because my old man's name is Ralph White, too. He starts crying. I start crying. I knew I didn't have a resentment. I didn't know I had this overflowing wellspring of love for my dad. Didn't even know it was there. Didn't know it was hiding. Didn't know it was waiting. Didn't know apparently you guys had done something to this guy that had prepped me for that. So we go through a series of things in that phone call. He tells me I haven't had a drink in over a year since my wife died. My stepmom, he had been married to. I knew she had died 6 months or so previous. And he said I hadn't had a drink and I can't believe, and I'm so sorry for what I did to you and your brothers. I said, you don't have nothing to be sorry about. I'm sorry I haven't been a son to you. And we started talking. I didn't tell him, because the way that this thing works and the way that God works, the man that entered my life after my old man left was a remarkable guy. He came into my mom's life, and he came into my mom's life when she was saddled with 6 kids. It was the first car we ever had in my family when that man came in my life. And we go places, and we do things, and we see things. And in 1967, as a result of that man entering my mom's life, she bought her first house. And we moved out of that apartment, and we started living in a house. And we started going and doing some things and taking vacations. So I didn't tell my old man that as a result of you leaving, a lot of good stuff had happened. My brother finished law school. 4 of us finished college. All that. That was unimportant. But I did tell him I hadn't been a son to you. And we started talking every month. And this story I've been telling you guys over the years, that my old man only had a 6th grade education. My old man was a scholar. My old man wouldn't go to the school that he was supposed to go to because he didn't want to settle for that. He went across town and caught a bus. I'm like, where did this story come from? I don't know where this story's coming from in my story right now, but anyway. So my old man didn't have a 6th grade education, but for the years, that was the story I told myself. I told myself a story about my story, and so I'm growing up, and I start, finally, I get past where it was, and I said, I'm not going to be like my old man. So I don't touch anything. I'm a square kid. I'm a model kid. I'm a straight A student. I'm a go to school guy. I'm a make stuff happen guy. I'm a high achieving guy, and that's what it was like for Ralph White when I was growing up. Never wanted to be anybody else. Always thought that there was somebody in here that when I started drinking, the real me just got released. But it was years before the real me got released. I remember I'm the kind of kid, I'd be walking in school. 6th grade. I'm walking down the hall, and I'm kind of nerdy, but I straighten up my walk because I'm not nerdy now because I got to walk, because it dawned on me, I know I'm going to be on candid camera. I know it, and so I straighten up my walk, and I start this little pimp walk, and I'm cool now because I know any minute I'm going to be on candid camera. Sounds like it's a humorous, I am the definition selfish, self-centered, self-absorbed from a long time ago. I've always felt that kind of way. And so when I took a drink at 16 years old with my first girlfriend, it didn't make me somebody I wasn't. It allowed the real me to stand up. And that's what started happening for me. The real me started standing up. I'm not overnight alcoholic. I understand we talk about this disease being progressive in nature because that's how it showed up in my experience. That's why it took me a while to get comfortable telling my story in Alcoholics Anonymous, and it took me a while to learn the rhythm of listening to people's stories in Alcoholics Anonymous, because my initial way, I'd always listen for the differences and I couldn't get any of the similarities. And I started listening, and when I came back to Alcoholics Anonymous to stay, because I came around here 4 times, somebody taught me how to read the big book Alcoholics Anonymous, and they taught me how to listen to speakers at the meetings. And they said, Ralph, the same way that you listen to the speakers at the meetings is the same way that you read the big book Alcoholics Anonymous. When you read the big book and when you listen to our speakers, ask yourself 3 or 4 questions. Ask yourself, did I drink like he drank? Did I think like he thought? Did I feel like he felt? Or did I do what he did? You guys would get up to the podium, and every single one of you would talk about that first drink, and you talk about it being magical, mystical, transcendent. I'm going to drink for the rest of my life. I knew it that day. That ain't how it happened for me. That first night I drank, I didn't get pissy drunk. I didn't throw up all over myself. I didn't make a fool out of myself. And it wasn't all that. I got a warm, tipsy feeling, kissed slick, sucked on my girl in some places I'd never done. And that's how my drinking stayed, man. And I didn't start drinking all the time. I'm the high achieving guy. So I would drink to go to those parties on the weekends in high school. It took me a long time to get comfortable listening to my story because I'm a late bloomer. And I didn't take off till I graduated from high school in 71, and I graduated to higher education in every sense of the word. I go off to UCLA, and my journey started with this deal in earnest. I'm living in the dorms. And just like Bill in his story, when I went off to school, the drive for success was on. I proved to the world I was important. And just like him, drink started taking a more important and exhilarating part of my life. You can live in the dorms at UCLA and not do 3 things. 1, drink. 2, smoke weed. 3, learn bid whist. Those were the 3 prerequisites to live in the dorms in college when I was there in the early 70s, and I did them all, and I majored in them. And I started having some things happen to me that hadn't happened to me before. Freshman year, I started taking some withdrawals. I was on subject to probation. Never happened to me. I'm a straight A student. I had never seen less than a B in my entire school career. I started taking withdrawals. Started missing classes. Started doing things I said I would never do, crossing lines I said I would never cross. Senior year in high school, I was working as a drug counselor for Teen Post Youth Information Center. I said I never touched drugs, scourged in my community, tearing up my community. Used to be on anti-drug rallies. PCP was going through my neighborhood like crazy. I was one of the people at rallies railing against any drugs in my community. I'm not going to be one of those people. 1971, I started drinking. 1972, I started drinking and I started smoking weed. 1973, I started drinking, smoking weed, selling weed, and crossing lines I thought I wouldn't cross. And alcohol started being a way of life for me. I staggered up out of that school in 1975, and I started working as a counselor for LA City Schools. Although I had the kind of job that should have allowed me to acquire what normal people acquire, I never did that. I would buy a car, make exactly 3 car payments, then come find them. I started taking losses in the early 70s. Wasn't accustomed to that. Called me into the job one day and told me they were inviting me to leave. I had never been invited off of a job before. First loss, 1978. 1979, I took the second one. I got disinvited from another job. Never connected it to my drinking, never connected it to my using. I connected that one to Thursday payday. Thursday payday. Anybody know that's a setup? Why would you pay somebody on Thursday and expect them to show up at work on Friday? That don't even make no sense to me. I was in about my third inventory guy before I got clear on that. I'm still not cool with Thursday paydays. Now I get paid all kind of odd days of the week, but Thursday payday, that was a crazy time, And the interesting thing about this, when you hear our stories, we talk about sharing in a general way. And tonight, I don't know what's coming up with some of this other stuff that I've never shared. I've never even thought about, because we share in a general way. There ain't no way that you can get a complete picture of anybody. You get a guy up here that's 66 years old. You get the rest of these speakers who'll be coming up here with a lot of age and seasoning. It is no way that you can get a specific story. So, a lot of the times, some of the stuff that I've been going through and I've been talking about, I was very successful at work for a long time. I never focus on it and I never think about it. When I got fired from my last job in 1985, I had risen into a position in my job. I was working in management for a major utility company in their law department. And I had always had the ability to work when I work. The problem is getting my ass to work. But when I get to work, I'm working. But the thing about me is, while I'm rising in the workplace, my alcoholism is also progressing. So you got the business guy by day and the vampire by night. And the cool thing about that dynamic is the vampire always outgrows the business guy. The vampire always outgrows the PTA president. The vampire always outgrows the housewife. So the vampire starts coming to work. They don't pay the vampire to come to work. The vampire don't work at work. So they call the vampire in one day and they say, dude, you got to go and take dude with you. And I had lost my dream job. I had started working at this job in 1983, and it was a salary position. First time I ever had a salary position. I was making $35,000 a year, and I had arrived. So when my then wife took me to the care unit one day after work, right before I got fired, she started seeing some problems. And she picked me up from work because by now we had one car we were driving. She used to come on Thursdays. No, this was not the Thursday payday job. This is Friday. She used to come on Fridays to pick up my check. She'd come to pick me up from work. That sounded like a fail-safe idea, unless you're dealing with alcoholic. My wife would drive an hour to my job in Alhambra, and they'd say, he left a couple of hours ago. She got tired of that, came and picked me up one Friday. I was there. Wasn't a payday Friday. And instead of going home, we turned into a care unit. And we went up into that office, and we met with a counselor. And I remember that counselor looking at me and looking at my wife, and that counselor saying to me, so, Mr. White, what are you here for? I said, I don't know. You need to ask that. What we here for? She the one came up in here. I didn't come up in here. And he looked at my wife, and he looked at me. I said, it ain't no way. I just started a new job. I just started a new position. You're talking about taking 28 days off the job. I don't have 28 days. And he looked at me and he said to my wife, he's going to lose this job. I couldn't believe it. Who is this guy to be turning my wife against me? Who is this guy to be talking that guy? You don't know me. And stormed up out of there. A month later, I lost that job. And I was in the care unit for real a year after that. So when I lost that job, my ex-wife finally got tired of me, put me out, went to stay at my mom's house. And all 5 of my brothers ended up at my mom's house that year of 1985. In that year of 1985, we damn near killed my mom. The year before, my wife and I had been saving up to buy a house. So we had a separate bank account, and ATM cards had just come out. They used to say, go to the Versateller. And my wife had the card. She made a fatal mistake one night. And she made the mistake of giving the card to her husband, who she should be able to trust, and telling him the PIN number. Get some money, go to the store and pick something up. When you start hitting the bank account and it's $10,500 in the bank and you take $40, no big deal. And you take $40 and it's down to $10,200, no big deal. And you take $200 a night and it gets down to $8,600, no big deal. And you do it again, and next thing you know, seems like the next night is down to $4,000. Kind of a deal. And then you look up and it's $60. And you sit on the bed, getting ready to go to work, and your wife looks at you and she says, have you been going in the bank account? No, I ain't been going in the bank. She said, well, I got a call from the bank yesterday. And they have pictures of the person who's been going to the ATM. And they want me to come in this afternoon and take a look at them. Well, by now, she's had pistols put in her face. She's had many times where the landlord has been over threatening to evict us. She's had many times where she's had to go and get the phones and the lights and the gas cut back on. She's had many times where she's had to lie to my mom and her mom about why it is we need some groceries from them. So by now, she's kind of on her last one. And I know if I let her go see the police unprepared, she'd tell them where to find me and to go pick me up. So I'm sitting on the bed this particular morning, and she says that to me. And I said, I took the money. She said, what? I took the money. You know how sometime when you review some stuff in your past and you wonder, how am I here to even be talking about this? This is one of them moments, because I can't tell you everything that took place that morning. I don't really know why I'm here to be telling you about this. But he said, I took the money, and it was the longest trip to work sharing this one car that I've ever taken. Shortly thereafter, series of stuff going on, me going through the purse, because that wasn't enough to stop me and get my attention. So I end up in my mom's house. And that was not a happy time. Me and my brothers. My mom would come home every single day with a bag of groceries, because if she kept any food in the refrigerator, these 6 grown leeches that she gave birth to would have been making plates and selling them in the neighborhood to get the money to get what we needed. My wife used to bring my daughter over on Saturdays so we could keep a father-daughter relationship. My daughter was 2 years old at the time. And I really wanted to be a dad to my little girl. And something happened. You know, when you go to meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, there's a rhythm to our stories. I invite you to get into the rhythm. Most of us start out the same way. Well, we have some differences. Where most of us talk about our early life. Some of it is tragic, some of it is happy, some of it is, some people have less of a memory than other people. Mine, for a long time, I was a happy-go-lucky kid. We didn't have no money, but it was a lot of love in my house. I was raised with a lot of love. I was raised with, ambitions, goals, dreams, hopes. My first goal was I'm going to be shortstop for the Dodgers and wear number 30. Maury Wilson was my idol. My second goal, and I said it in a minute with everything in me, was I'm going to be the first black president of the United States. Said it, did it, meant it. And I set out about my way to be that guy. And I got waylaid by this deal that we suffer from. A couple of years ago, I had something happen to me on an airplane, and I passed out on the plane coming home. Bam. Scared my family, scared my daughter, scared everybody. They made me go to the hospital because I'm not a hospital guy, and I had a lot of tests. And when they tested me in the hospital, one of the tests they gave was for diabetes. And they found out if you have numbers between 156 and 165, and I don't know what these numbers are, somebody in here knows, that's the range. On the low end of that range, and I was at about 159, I'm pre-diabetic. They can look at it, they can tell it. There are tests they can give and say if you hit 165, you got diabetes and we got to do it. But back in 1967 and 1968, when I'm a kid getting ready to go off to high school, you couldn't have put a CT, you couldn't have done an MRI, you couldn't have done you couldn't have done a blood test, you couldn't have done anything that's going to show he got this thing. There's nothing that's going to show he's got this thing. So I'm the happy-go-lucky guy that's living my life. And when I first took a drink, I didn't do it because I was trying to escape. I didn't do it because I was trying to broaden my right. I did it because that's what you do when you turn 16 or 17 years old and you're going to be cool. That's just what you do. It's what a kid does. I did it unknowingly. I didn't do it with, predetermination. I'm going to be drinking the rest of my life. I entered this thing, man, you guys, with my eyes just wide shut. And I just entered it like just a kid having fun. But I got that thing. So by the time 1985 hits, all those dreams, goals, hopes, and ambitions that I had to be the first black president of the United States. Check this out, how subtle this disease is. First black president of the United States. Now I'm a sophomore at UCLA, and my goal is to be able to roll a joint, one hand, one finger, one hand, one paper. What? First black president of the United States, roll a joint, one paper, one hand. Disease I suffer from, my alcoholic life seems the only normal one. I'm unable to differentiate the true from the false. So that's the normal life. That's where it is that I'm going now. Don't even see it. And that you couldn't have told me back in 71, 72, 73, when it's fun and games, when it's Yago Sangria, when it's Lambrusco, when it's Spinata, when it's Tyrolia, when it's Annie Greensby. You couldn't have told me back then that in 1985 it was going to be hiding in the closet in my mama's house. And there's nothing more embarrassing and humiliating than hiding in the closet because she had said, don't be up in there. And she just walks straight in this bedroom and walks in there and opens the closet door and pulls these blankets and think, get your... Whew. I've done some things. Something happened. October 11th, 1986. I call it a wave-stopping moment. We go through people's lives like tornadoes, and this disease was going through my life like a tsunami. And it was washing it away, washing it away, washing it away, washing it away, washing it away. And seemed like on October 11th, 1986, one of the biggest waves got ready to come crashing down, and it stopped. Right here. Stop. I hadn't been to a meeting. Hadn't ridden the fourth step. Hadn't got a sponsor. Didn't have a home group. Hadn't read the big book. Didn't even own a big book. Hadn't heard of a big book. October 11th, 1986. Stop right here. Everybody in this room that's got a sobriety day had a wave-stopping moment. What is that? No sponsor, no home group, no meeting, no inventory, none of that. Most of our members call that grace. We don't create the grace. We don't control the grace. We can't predict the grace. But we access the grace. And over the course of this weekend, you'll hear from some of the, not the best grace receptors, but some of the best communicators about channeling the grace. And for 33 years with you guys, that's what I've had the opportunity and the privilege to do. I started walking under the wave, just walking under the wave, still up over my head, walking under the wave. And over the course of this weekend, we'll talk about what is this thing we've tapped into? What is this thing that way back in the 30s, there was a gentleman, Roland Hazard, and he went to a doctor. He was like us. And he went to a doctor and he said, doctor, help me. Doctor took him up under his care for about a year. Preeminent psychiatrist of the day, preeminent shrink. And Dr. Carl Jung does what it is that he does, or shrinks do. He shrunk him. He rolled him, understood his inner, the inner workings of his mind, probably spanked the inner child, did all that stuff that shrinks do, and said, nah, I got this. I've been with the number one dude. This ain't just a quack. This is not, a top dog guy. I've been with him for about a year. Let me leave here. Bam, rolling, couldn't get off the boat. Drunk. Goes back to the doctor. Spent good money with the doctor. Hollered at, hey, doc, I need to holler at you. I gave you all this money. What happened? Talk to me. Doctor said, Roland, check this out. I tripped. I tripped. I diagnosed you. I misdiagnosed your case. You present like a lot of other folk present. You present like manic depressive. You present like, bipolar. You present like schizophrenic. You present like a bunch of stuff. But check this out. You had a mind of a chronic alcoholic. Woo. You had a mind of a chronic, and cats like you, I've seen cases like yours, but the methods I've tried with you, they don't work on a guy like you. They don't work on, what? Holler, doc, come on. You got to tell me something better than that. You got to tell me, dude, it's nothing I can do for you. Wait a minute, all this money, you tell me that after I spend all my money, right? It ain't nothing you can do for me. No, you going to do something for me. Okay. Every now and then, here and there, I've heard about, I don't know them personally, I've heard about cases like yours. I have been, and I've heard about these cases, and these cases seem to lend themselves to what I like to call this vital spiritual experience. I've been trying to produce that vital spiritual experience in you. Silkworth said the same thing later on. Silkworth said, I know what you need. I can't give it to you. And he told Hazard, I know what you need. You need some act right, get right. I can't give you no act right, get right. I call it moral psychology. You need this vital spiritual experience. So check this out, dude. This is what I would suggest. I don't know nobody. I've heard about them. If you go to church, if you got a faith, if you got a religion, go back there. You got about as much chance of being struck by lightning as you ever did. But go back there, maybe you'll be struck by lightning. And Roland has a return to the Oxford group where he was a member, and he got struck by lightning. He got struck by lightning. And through a series of events, he got put in touch with a guy, Ebby Thatcher, who later got put in touch with a guy that we celebrating his 85th anniversary now, Bill Wilson. And what happened with Roland Hazard, that vital spiritual experience, as a result of two men getting together, Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob Smith. And through this alchemy of one alcoholic sharing with another, we've been able to replicate the spiritual experience. Bill Wilson called that a wholesale miracle. When he talked about a miracle, when Roland Hazard talked about a miracle, he talked about, Dr. Young said, every now and then, here and there, a miracle by definition don't happen often. Matter of fact, rarely seen. If it happened all the time, it ain't a miracle. Might be extraordinary, might be damn, but it ain't a miracle if it happening every day, you know. Every night, here and there. But we've been able to replicate the spiritual experience through this process, one drunk with another. And so Bill Wilson, what he calls that, and what most of us, is a wholesale miracle. I believe in some things. I'm a corny guy. I'm still a happy ending guy. And there are still some things I believe in. And I believe in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I believe in this power. And I still believe in miracles. I still believe in miracles because I'm standing up here. And not only because I'm standing up here. And it's a lot of y'all. And I hear your stories and I trust you. But see, I got 3 brothers. I saw them. Shoulder to shoulder. Grimy. With each other. And you got a hold of them. And you put your hands on my family. So goddamn right, I believe in miracles. Because a couple of months ago, in 1985, my mom there had a nervous breakdown, and we almost lost her. She has 6 sons in her house, drinking, smoking, gone. 6 sons that she had high hopes for. I'm the first kid off my block to go to college. 4 of us went. Single mom in Watts. And wait till we grown to go crazy. And we damn near killed her. And you got your hands on her starting in 1986. And the 4 of us that need to be with you are with you. And I don't have scientific evidence for it. I don't have a way to prove it. If you ask me, Ralph, how you know? I'm just going to make the bold statement. In 1985, we damn near lost my mom. In 1986, we started coming to you. In 2019, 2 months ago, my mom was on a boat in the Caribbean with all her sons. 89 years old, still kicking. You do the math. I'm passionate about this. I'm still passionate about it. You can't tell from the way that I started, but I'm very passionate about this. I'm passionate about you guys taking me in, and I'm passionate about you growing me up. I'm passionate about you introducing me to something. I'm passionate about all 3 sides of this triangle. I fell in love with the fellowship before I fell in love with the program. I started going to meetings, and and meetings have never been hard for me. It has not been hard for me to stay with you. It has been hard with me sometimes to meet the challenges of life, but it has not been hard for me to stay a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. And whenever I've gone through something, lean in. If you knew it, lean in. I ain't never walked away. When I went through a 20-year marriage that fell apart in front of all of you, lean in. When I lost my house in front of everybody, lean in. I was standing at Stateline years ago, getting ready to do the 3rd step. Upstairs in my room, got a phone call from my wife. They put a note on the door. It was this time of year, right before Christmas. They put a note on our door. We got to be out the house. And I had to come down and talk to you about, made a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God. And you goddamn right, I made a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God. House or no house. If you go downstairs Somebody's going to sit at a crap table. Somebody's going to sit at a blackjack table tonight. And if you were sitting at one of them tables, I remember sitting at a table, and a guy who came by the table, and I'm nursing my little chips, and a guy came by the table, and I remember him putting all his, bam, he just stopped off, and he put all, and I said, ooh, dude, put all his in. Because you ain't going to put all your chips in. Why? You might lose. You might lose. But check this out. October the 11th, 1986, I came to you with no chips. I came to you with no chips. So when you ask me to go all in, I'm playing with house money. Everything I got is as a result of coming to you. You goddamn right, I'm an all-in guy. I'm an all-in guy. I started going to meetings, and and I've loved them from the time I came. I'm an avid reader. I love books. You can't find better stories than the stories you find in Alcoholics Anonymous. I've been all in with you guys. And so when I was standing up at Stateline, don't even remember what year, and they said, they're taking your house. And you know what? I'm kind of mean. I'm not a label guy. I have a lot of friends. I'm a book guy. You know, I'm a book guy. I've been that guy. I've been a book guy. I'm a guy. I'm a dad. I'm a son. I'm a friend. I'm a sponsor. I'm a sponsee. But I'm not, because when I say that, it seems like I'm limiting some other stuff. Because that year, Living Dangerous, I'm telling you, for a couple of years, I wrote on the fellowship. And I had been a book guy I wrote on the fellowship. Because when I went up there and I talked about it, here's what happens. I'm better with you than I am without you. You getting the best me. People will say, isn't that hypocritical? Follow me home and the rest of that and the rest. Sometime at home, I'm tripping. Sometime at home, I'm scared. Sometime at home, I'm stumbling. Sometime at home, life gets big. Sometime at home, life gets overwhelming. That's why it's wonderful to be a part of a fellowship like this. We in Vegas, and I have a lot of analogies when I come to Vegas. That's why I like coming here. This is a fight town, too. And every fighter needs a good cut man. And every now and then, when you by yourself and when life comes calling like it did for me, sometimes don't keep fighting life. Sometimes you got to take a knee. Don't keep fighting life. You know how they say God won't give you more than you can handle? That's true, but sometimes life will. That's why you need God. And sometimes life gives you more than you can handle. And you take a knee and you come back into the room. Don't take a knee and leave us. You take a knee and you come back in the room and we patch you up. We the best corner man there. We patch you up and when we pat you down, Billy, goddamn it, you can do this. You a champion. Get back out there. Baby, you can do this. You a queen. Come on. You can do this. You can do this. And we throw you back out and you go back out and you throw me back out and you patch me back up in 33 years. Jennifer, I don't know if she's here right now, but she says, I have 100% survival rate. I have 100% survival rate. I was listening to this old dude, and he called himself the Pope of AA, Franklin Williams. And Franklin Williams was sharing something when I was at my lowest. I was at my lowest. And I ran out of money. Didn't have a place to stay. Almost ran out of hope. And I was listening to a Franklin Williams tape, and he said, but I can't run out of God. Not I won't, I can't run out of God. I'm here to tell you 33 years later, I done been through a lot of things. And I've walked through a lot of storms. And every single one of them I lean in. And then I'll start walking in the light. And I sometimes start walking in the light. And through the course of this weekend, we're going to talk about this matter of grace that we talk about. This thing that we don't produce, we don't control, and we don't create. But we're going to talk about walking through this whole process, this process of being defeated. When I listen, Don, when he does a step one, and sometimes when I listen, I got to listen for similarities, because when the speakers come up here and they share this weekend, people will be sharing their experience. People will be sharing. That's what I love so much about this format. Ain't nobody going to be coming up in here doing no seminar. Ain't nobody going to be coming up in here giving you no primer on step 2 and step 3. Nobody's going to tell, this is how you know. No, people are going to talk about their experience, and God damn it, they're going to talk about some men and women. We don't put people on pedestals. Okay, we don't put people, but I need role models, and I need people I look up to. As a kid, I looked up to Maury Wills. I looked up to Elgin Baylor. I looked up to, so as a kid, and I come in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, because in the streets, I had a couple of people I looked up to. And I looked up to my brother, one paper, one hand. So you goddamn right. There are people and there are men and women in this room, through the power of their example. They've grown me up. Mari's going to talk about the traditions tomorrow. And Mari's going to talk about one of the traditions, and Billy's here, he's going to do some talking about our service structure. And one of the traditions that that's near and dear to us is our third tradition. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. And that's a broad umbrella. The minute you express a desire to stop, you on the team. Bam. No audition, no trial. In fact, auditions are over. You tried out, you made it. Minute that I express a desire, you on the team. Can't nobody put you off. Most of us agree that's a wonderful umbrella and it's a wonderful thing. But check this out. Everybody that's on the team ain't in the game. Put me in the goddamn game. Put me in the game. That's why I like coming here. Everybody here, I used to wonder as a kid, why is it that baseball players like fastballs? Because I like them slow, just this lobby. The reason I had to give up ball was I never overcame the fear of it. You ain't going to be a ball player if you can't overcome the fear of getting hit. I never overcame the fear of it, But professional baseball players, like fastballs. I used to wonder why, when I was a kid, why is that? Why do they want fastballs? And it's the same thing when you get the people that'll come up here this weekend, and I'm going to speak for them. When you come to an event like this, because you think that communication is a one-way street. You think that when somebody gets up here, they're just giving you this bomb information, and you just soaking it in. No, it's a two-way street. There's energy that's coming back from this room. When you come to a room like this, you got people that's in the game. You got people when and it's kind of fun to sing to the choir. I don't always like singing to the choir. I like singing to people that ain't in the game too. I like singing. I like the music to make you want to get in the game. Make it attractive, make it appealing, make it something, make it available. Sometimes people will get up here and make this process seem like, yeah, it's something that I want to have, but you got to be heavy and you got to be deep and you got to be perceptive and all. No, you ain't got to be any of that, but willing and get with another. Check this out. Most of the people in here that sponsor people, and most of the people that you hear me quote or that you'll hear other people quote, why is it? Do you know the power of what it is that we do? This is why I say you make me better than I am when I get with you. And every single one of us, we can attest to that. How many people in here sponsor? All those hands that went up, have you ever heard yourself when you're with a sponsee? When you're with a sponsee, have you ever heard yourself say something that you didn't know you knew? And when you say it, you know that you knew it, but you didn't know it till you said it. Especially when it's deep, especially when it's thick, especially when it's dark, especially when there's no way out. And sometimes all you know that you know when you say it is, it's going to be all right. And then sometimes you drop one of them pearls. And you wish you had a pen or a pencil because you couldn't repeat it again. Where does that come from? Except that divine alchemy of one alcoholic sharing with another. This put me in the game idea. This weekend we're going to talk about getting in. This weekend we're going to talk about getting on my knees and that third step, that entry. I call that the entry in. That's like when you take off your sweats and you take off, and now I'm in. I'm in. I get on my knees and I'm in. And unlike an athletic event, you don't wait for the coach to put you in this. You decide, I'm in. I'm in. And as a result of being an all-in guy in Alcoholics Anonymous, man, my life, the biggest influence on my life that was a man was my granddad. My granddaddy. Solid guy. With my grandmother 56 years. Always wanted to be like that. I didn't want to do what it took to be like that, but I wanted to get the respect of being like that. I was looking at my granddaddy, and I love my grandmama, and I was like, dude, you with the same woman 56 years? And I didn't say it like admiringly. I was like, really? I was like, but I'm a kid, and I'm looking at granddaddy, but he was solid. And you know how they say, beyond your wildest drunken dreams? I can't say that. This program is not giving me things beyond my wildest drunken dreams. I had wild drunk dreams. I thought I'd be a millionaire before I was 30. Thought I'd have some stuff I'll never have. I'm 66. Still scrounging about for what my retirement's going to look like. Still working. But if you told me I'd be this Ralph White when I was 13 or 14 years old dreaming about being the first black president, if you'd have told me I'd be this man at this hour in this place. I got grandkids, and when they look at Dad, Granddad, they see my granddaddy. When did that happen? I had 2 daughters that are grown, and they're daddy's girls. And I hear stories. And sometimes I say, what did I do to get so lucky? What did I do to be so blessed? Didn't come for the ripples, but I stayed for the ripples. I stay for the ripples. You can't see it, but if you look real close, when you see Ralph White, I'm not standing up here by myself. Man, in this particular season, at this particular place, I'm going to finish that story and I'm going to get on from here. That's Stateline. When I made that decision to turn my will in my life, and I made that talk about that decision. I've never moved off that decision. And I went back to my room, and it was this time of year, and we were getting put out the house. I had that to look forward to when I went home. And it was Christmas. I had that to look forward to. And I came to Stateline with no money. That's the good thing about Alcoholics Anonymous, for fun and for free. And the people in here, I don't like to share about it because this ain't what Alcoholics Anonymous is about. That's what I wanted it to be about when I was new. I wanted it to be a housing bureau, and I wanted it to be jobs bureau, I wanted it to be, get me out of a pinch. I wanted to be a bail bondsman. I wanted it to be all that stuff. That ain't what Alcoholics Anonymous is. Alcoholics Anonymous puts me in the game and it gives me a shot. But I want to tell you, and I've never said it, this conference, I want to thank you for what you've done for me in my life. This fellowship. I've had some really barren seasons, 3 years. And then I've had the ability to walk on the sunny side of the street. And I've been there for a minute. Don't let the life that AA gives you get in the way of your AA life. I stayed closer to you guys in the rain. Don't let the life that AA gives you get in the way of your AA life. So now I'm walking on the sunny side. And I get the opportunity to share with anybody what this power has done for me. Stay here this weekend. Get the opportunity to see what it is that we really do. Because this grace recepting and this grace receiving that we do. See, God don't stop giving grace. God ain't never stopped giving grace. God only does one thing. God just keeps guiding. God just keeps on sending. That's all he does. The receiver is what's blocked. The receiver is what's blocked. And so through the series of these 12 steps, through the series of these ego-reducing exercises that these people are going to talk to you about this weekend, what we get the opportunity to do when we come with our smudged and dirty window, we get to rub the window. We get to rub the window. And you're going to hear from some of the best window rubbers this weekend about rubbing the window. And we rub it and we rub it and we rub it, and the grace comes shining through. And you'll be able to see it. You'll be able to see it. I'm glad I got the opportunity one more time to be in your presence. Some people say that, and for me, where I come from, and the regard I hold you guys in, it's a privilege. It's an honor. To me, it's the highest privilege and the highest honor to get an opportunity to come with you, share with you what this power has done in my life, and I like to talk about it. I'm going to get out from here, but I'm going to say it one more time. He hates it. He hates it. He hates it. But this man has been a role model for me for years. And I remember the very first one of these that we did. And anybody that wants to see the T-shirt, I brought the T-shirt. I brought the T-shirt from the very first Stateline retreat held here. I got something Bob don't even have. You know, I've always wanted to do something important. I've always wanted to do something significant. I can think of nothing more important. I can think of nothing more significant than being a participating member of the life-saving, life-changing experience that is Alcoholics Anonymous. Whenever anybody, anywhere reaches out for help, I want the hand of A to be there for that. I'm responsible. Take it real serious. Never hear Ralph White say, I don't know why I'm sober. I know exactly why I'm sober. I get a blessing so that I can be a blessing. Recovery for me is a gift from God. What I do with my recovery, that's my gift to God. My name is Ralph White. I am an alcoholic.